Hey, how's it going, everyone? Just back in with another lesson. I was just reading through Matthew, and then I came across the sequence of the end times again, and then I thought I would touch on that, and then also salvation and reincarnation, and just incredible stuff. I feel like every time I go through the Bible, I just keep learning something new, and I think that that's an amazing aspect of the book that would literally happen, for forever, and then ultimately, that's what salvation is all about, is to continue that learning nonstop. But I want to start with Zephaniah 3, 17. And this is in line with one of the verses that I quote all the time, Jeremiah 31:8. And so I want people to know, God's character is unchanging. He's going to stick by these words, whether we like it or not, and then the people that gather here, we rejoice, because we want these things to come true. Jeremiah 31:8, behold, I will bring them from the north country and gather them from the coasts of the earth. So God's elect are in all nations. And with them the blind and the lame, the woman with child and her that travaileth with child, a great company shall return thither. And with them the blind and the lame. Okay, remember that. Jeremiah 31:8, and for people in numerology, 31 plus 8 is 39. 3 nines, 999, and if you rotate that, that's 666. So that's in the last days. And so again, you get this reference talking about salvation and who it involves. And so don't be confused, by this. Certainly people that come by my channel understand what's going to happen soon. Zephaniah 3:17, the Lord your God is in your midst, a mighty one who will save. And so now we're going to talk about salvation here. He will rejoice over you with gladness. He will quiet you by his love. He will exalt over you with loud singing. Verse 18, 666. I will gather those of you who mourn for the festival. This is for the kingdom, so that you will no longer suffer reproach. And so these are people that the Bible describes in 2nd Ezra whose souls complain continually. And they're just anxious, for the kingdom to be established on earth and Christ to be leading. Here's the verse that I wanted to focus on as well. Behold, at that time I will deal with all your oppressors. So God's going to bring judgment to this earth. And I will save the lame and gather the outcast. And I will change their shame into praise and renown in all the earth. And so that's who God is going to save. Okay. Right. It says here, those who are oppressed, and then the lame, and then the outcast. And so just know that, and so that is a very descriptive term for who salvation is meant for. Okay. So the people that love it here or are oppressing other people, who are acquiescing with this system, salvation is not for you, and if I'm doing that, it's not for me either. And so just know that. Okay, so Zephaniah 3 reaffirms Jeremiah 31:8, and then the entire narrative of the whole Bible of who salvation is for. So this subject now, moving on to Matthew, I just want to go into reincarnation and then the sequence of the end times. And so this is an amazing thing, just how the Bible speaks on many levels, when it tells us things. So I'm going to start with Matthew 16:28. This alone is an exclusive proof of reincarnation, and then there are many. Acts 1:10-11 is another proof of reincarnation. Revelation 1:7 is a proof of reincarnation. And there's just lots, and then we'll see more here actually as well, alluded to in Matthew 17, with Elijah and John the Baptist and Moses. But this one verse, Matthew 16:28, verily I say unto you, there be some standing here which shall not taste of death till they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. And so how else is that possible without reincarnation? And so he's talking about a group of people, and then just know that he's standing with his disciples, or obviously they're part of the elect. And so that's only possible if their souls are back here on this earth, and then these words will make sense to them. They'll understand some of the quote-unquote deeper things like reincarnation, and only God can explain that to them, and he's going to do that here. Jesus is going to do that here with a select group of his disciples, here in Matthew 17. Okay, so first, now this is layered. This is an incredible thing. So now let's think about the sequence that I teach. And I was told on the first day of 2020 is that there's salvation. And then there's a time where the beast system is flourishing, a great tribulation where the mark of the beast is now really pushed out. And then, Christ returns after that to destroy everybody who's taken it. And so during that time, the elect are taken away at the beginning, and then during that time, the mixed multitude are sifted out, the rest of God's right-hand side, and then the two witnesses are brought to earth when Christ returns to save his elect, according to Acts 1:10 and 11. And those are two witnesses, are Moses and Elijah. And so we see all that here. Okay, so first step, we have to talk about Christ returning, and then so we see that in Matthew 16:28. And so, just know that. And so for the numerology people as well, Matthew 16 and 28 is 2 times 8 is 16. So you have Matthew 16:16, 6:6. It's for the last days. Verily I say unto you, there be some standing here which shall not taste of death till they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. So for those people, whoever they are, who are of God's elect, you cannot die. You will not die. And so take comfort in that. For those people who think that they're in that elite group, there's nothing you can do or anybody else can do to change that at all. Like Christ says here, which shall not taste of death. This is a group of people. So here we have salvation, okay? And then this is where it's incredible. The Bible is using very coded language, but verse Matthew 17, and after 6 days, Jesus taketh Peter, James, and John. What's the point of putting 6 days? What difference does it make? It was 5 days, 10 days. After 6 days is coded language for after you have the salvation event, you're going to have a period of the 666 system flourishing, and then this is the Great Tribulation. And so this is an incredible piece of coded language. And so just be aware of that. Okay, so after salvation, what do we expect? We should have some reference to the two witnesses, Moses and Elijah, and then we're going to see that. So after 6 days, Jesus taketh Peter, James, and John, his brother, and bringeth them up into a high mountain apart. And so even amongst his disciples, he had a group that he was very, very close to. So he had different layers of people in his entourage that he was closest to, and then told them certain things, and then he tells Peter that, he'll build his church on him and all that. And so he took these three, up, because this is a very special event that's going to happen here. 17:2, and was transfigured before them, and his face did shine as the sun, and his raiment was white as light. That's a very important reference because of this next verse, verse 3. And behold, there appeared unto them Moses and Elijah talking with him. And then they're the two witnesses in Acts 1:10 and 11 who are wearing white, and then they're the ones that come back and tell the disciples, this event that you just saw, you're going to see the reciprocal, and like it said there, you will not taste death. And so that's them again, if people can accept this now. Acts 1:10 to 11, that's Moses and Elijah, okay? And they were wearing white, as a sign of purity. And so now here we have the reference to the two witnesses. So this is not an explicitly prophetic end times, sequence or whatever, but it's in there, and it's coded language. It's just amazing aspect of the Bible that it speaks on many, many levels. And so then answered Peter and said unto Jesus, Lord, it is good for us to be here. If thou wilt, let us make here 3 tabernacles, one for thee, one for Moses, and one for Elias or Elijah. While he yet spake, behold, a bright cloud overshadowed them, and behold, a voice out of the cloud which said, This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. Hear ye him. So this is a bright cloud. These are these so-called UFOs. And that's why you see more stuff about UFOs in the news right now. And so this is, in that time, that's, what's being proclaimed, for this this bright cloud in a voice, saying, This is my beloved Son. In the end times, it's these UFOs preaching the gospel during the time of the two witnesses. Okay, so this is consistent, even though it's not explicitly meant to talk about, the sequence of the end times. It's in there, and this to me is just an incredible thing that sequence is everywhere. It's undeniable at this point that if the Bible is true, then that is the sequence of events that are going to take place in the last days. And only a small group of people will be in the know, so to speak, but it's an amazing thing. Verse 6, and when the disciples heard it, they fell on their face and were sore afraid. And Jesus came and touched them and said, Arise, and be not afraid. And that's in verse 17:7. 2:44. Arise and be not afraid. This is salvation for God's elect. Verse 8, and when they had lifted up their eyes, they saw no man save Jesus only. And so Moses and Elijah are now gone. Okay, and so that's the exact sequence of events for the end times, is that you have salvation, the elect taken away, then you have Moses and Elijah prophesying with these clouds, in the sky saying, Christ is the Son of God, the gospel's true, the Bible's true, and then the two witnesses are taken away, and then America is destroyed, in the last days. And so this follows that exact sequence, and this to me is an absolutely incredible thing. Verse 9, and as they came down from the mountain, Jesus charged them, saying, tell the vision to no man until the Son of Man be risen again from the dead. And his disciples asked him, saying, why then say the scribes that Elias must come first? And Jesus answered and said unto them, Elias truly shall first come and restore all things. But I say unto you that Elias is come already. And they knew him not, but have done unto him whatsoever they listed. Likewise shall also the Son of Man suffer of them. And so, verse 13, then the disciples understood that he spake unto them of John the Baptist. So Christ doesn't say, dummy, use reincarnation, okay? Like, he doesn't talk like that. He wants them to figure it out, and then he knows that once he tells them that, the Most High is opening up their mind to understand, what's really going on. And then at that moment, it clicked, and then that's the way it works with us. Whenever we come across certain truths, just something clicks, and we don't always know why and what inspires it, but ultimately all credit goes to God. Whatever truths that we know, God has opened up pathways in our brain, and then somebody or God himself has fed us information, then we can say now it's true. And so now they understand reincarnation. And then so they know now that that one of those two people that showed up, talking to Christ, I'm assuming they were also wearing white, was John the Baptist, and was Elijah. And so his spirit still lives, and then they're there discussing things with him. And so just know that. And so that's how Christ reveals truths to them and then to us now in these days. And so this to me is an amazing thing. And verse 14, and when they were come to the multitude, there came a certain man kneeling down to him and saying, so now there's going to be a reference to the multitude or the mixed multitude. They're the ones that have to go through the great tribulation. And so this is an amazing thing, that the Bible always encodes God's DNA. It's an amazing thing. Verse 14, Lord, have mercy on my son, for he is a lunatic and sore vexed, for oftentimes he falleth into the fire and oft into the water. So now we have a reference of falling into fire. And then I'm assuming, we're going to have a reference to people getting burned, and then this is where it's an incredible thing where, the Bible does this. Verse 16, and I brought him to thy disciples, and they could not cure him. So there's even amongst his disciples, there's an elite group. It's like he brought them to the other ones, but then they weren't able to do it. And then so now he's with his closest quarters, and then God shows a certain group of people certain things. And so just know that. Verse 17, then Jesus answered and said, O faithless and perverse generation, how long shall I be with you? How long shall I suffer you? Bring him hither to me. And so this is fire and talking about a faithless, perverse generation. And it's talking about it, it's foreshadowing what's going to happen in the end times. And so this Matthew 16 and 17 foreshadows the end times completely, and this to me is an absolutely incredible thing. It supports, again, reincarnation. And so the only thing to me that would mean that the Bible is not true or we're not in the end times if the elect are not on this earth right now. And then I have a strong suspicion that they are, because these words make sense to me. Hope everyone's doing well. Bye.